In this episode, we are going to talk about charisma. Why do you want charisma? What is charisma? And simple ways to embody more charisma, which, if you do for the next 7 days, is going to have a drastic impact, a positive impact on your opportunities, on sales, if you're in sales, in your relationships and your connections. So, what is charisma? According to Vanessa Van Edwards, who is a fantastic, incredible resource for charisma, it is the perfect mix of warmth and competence. So, what this looks like is someone who you feel comfortable with, someone that instantly builds a sense of openness. Competence is, I trust this person. I know this person is going to do a good job. And when we have warmth and competence combined, this is where we get charisma. What we don't want to happen is having too much warmth. So this is the people that you love to be around, right? They're so kind. They're so loving. You just love being around them. You often open up. You can tell your whole life story to these people. But the problem is when it comes to getting the job done, you may question if they are the right fit. You may question if you could trust them. People who are competent, so you know that they can get the job done. Sometimes these people are very intelligent. They're very smart. However, they can come off sometimes as cold and aloof. You don't necessarily want to open up to them. And what this can cause in professional settings is people shy away. We don't want either of these polars. What we ideally want is the most wonderful mix of warmth and competence. And this is where we become charismatic. People want to be around us. Why do we want to be charismatic? Because it's going to increase your opportunities. It's going to close on opportunities. It builds relationships. People want to be around someone who's charismatic and genuinely charismatic, right? So I believe that we come into this world, we all come into this world with confidence. It is what we pick up through childhood, through school, through home situations, through our collective consciousness. And all this can have an impact and impact how we feel. It can impact our self-esteem, our confidence can dip, and this has a huge effect on our charisma levels. I believe that we all have the capability to be charismatic. Yes, it comes more naturally to some people than others. That's okay. However, what we don't want to do when we are practicing being charismatic is making it all about a performance, because that does not go over well. What we want is your natural, authentic power state to come through and that charisma to shine from your authenticity. This is a big thing that I do with my clients, is helping them to tap into their authentic power state. So let's talk a little bit about what can create you. Let's talk a little bit about what is going to help you be wildly charismatic by the end of the week, doing these 5 things. I want to tell you a little story. So the first time I remember witnessing the impact of charisma, I was about 19, 20. I had no experience working in the retail industry, zero. However, I had just made some changes in my life. If you know my story, you know that I worked in the adult entertainment industry, and I wanted to make some changes. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be in the quote unquote real world. And I said, you know what? I'm going to work at the mall. Why don't I work at the mall? Again, no experience, no business applying to this job, but I did. And I'm not sure what I put on my resume because, again, I had no experience. However, I got the interview, and I knew that I needed to show up to the interview and make an impression because my qualifications were lacking, extremely lacking. But I knew that I could show up and impress someone. And I don't mean impress like you're putting on a performance. You're really showcasing your true self, your true abilities. First step was my dress, what I was wearing. I knew I wanted to show up in something that I felt fantastic in. This is so important when you are practicing your charisma. You want to be wearing something that you feel fantastic in. You do not want to be fiddling around, pulling things up, moving things around. This is going to detract from all charisma. We do not look charismatic when we are fiddling and uncomfortable. So wearing something that fits well, looks I caveat with professional because looking professional, it's not really about looking professional. It's about looking I don't even know if I want to say looking the part. It's really about you feeling good in what you're wearing. And when you feel good, it makes an impact. So I was wearing a pinstriped suit. And this was very stylish. It was fitted perfectly for my body. I had a red undershirt underneath that made me feel powerful. It made me feel very successful. I felt very successful in this outfit. And I had my briefcase or whatever I was carrying. One thing you want to be careful of when you are working on being charismatic is you don't want to be carrying a bunch of stuff in. This distracts. It also closes off our body. So we want to be open. So if you are carrying, right, I recommend just carrying something in your hand and keeping the other hand free, because it's even when we're holding and we're not closing down our body, it still gives the impression, and people make split impressions of you of being not as open because your hands are busy. You can't show up and wave and smile. And I know Vanessa mentions this in her work, the power of walking in, right? Giving the smile and giving the wave, open hand, right? This is a trust signal. So I walked in feeling great, feeling fantastic. And I knew instantly when I met the person who was interviewing me that I had already made an impression. I could tell immediately that she was impressed by what I had on. My posture, I walked in straight, my shoulders back, I smiled, I made eye contact, and I gave a firm handshake. We're having the interview, and what I'm doing is I'm showcasing active listening. It means I'm leaning in, right? I'm not in her space, but I'm leaning in. I'm listening to what she's saying. I'm making eye contact. When she's speaking to me, I'm asking questions to make sure I understand. I'm engaged. This is when someone is engaged, it is incredibly charismatic, especially when you are making eye contact and smiling. And when she asked if I had questions, I had questions. I had questions prepared. This is such a hack right here. It's not even a hack. But even if you don't think you'll have questions, prepare questions to ask. This shows a level of competence. It shows a level of interest. It also connects, right? It brings that warmth aspect. She let me know when the interview was done that she would reach out in a couple weeks when they made a decision. I knew that I had made a really good impression. And when I left that interview, I don't even think I had gotten on the subway again to go home. And I got a call and she said, Lisa, I'd like to offer you the job. I knew at that moment the power of showing up with purpose, with intention, and doing the things I'm going to share with you in this video to make an impact. And this I have repeated over and over again in interviews and opportunities and pitches. And I always know I'm going to make a positive impression. There was only one interview that didn't go well. And I'm going to share with you why it didn't go well at the end of this when we get to number 5, because it's a critical piece of the charisma factor. So first thing that we're going to do to practice being charismatic is eye contact. And I know this can be very awkward for people. I do think that a huge component of this is smartphones and just being online. We don't have as much practice with it. But at any age, when you are feeling insecure, it can affect your level of eye contact. Now, we don't want to be drilling into a person's soul with our eyes, okay? This isn't about opening your eyes really wide and staring at a person, which can happen when we are feeling nervous. Okay. We want a natural eye contact where we meet the eyes and we move away, right? We move away. We don't want to be shift the eyes, and we don't want to be looking down when we're talking or looking at stuff. Even looking at notes and just staying looking at notes. We always want to be bringing the eyes back, connecting with a person. And no like insane stare face. Okay, we don't want to be doing the eyes to eyes. Natural. How do you practice this? Practice it with people that you feel comfortable with first. Practice it with people you feel comfortable with. When you go to the store, practice it with people at the store. If you're going to the grocery store and you're getting certain things from behind the counter, practice making eye contact. It's really easy to be out and about and not make eye contact with people because it takes a level of energy. It takes a level of presence. But then we can get into the habit of not making eye contact. If you want to be charismatic, you have to learn how to make eye contact. This is one that Vanessa Van Edwards teaches, and it's really helpful. She talks about warming the eyes. So what this means is smiling with the eyes. So we know that if someone is smiling and their eyes aren't smiling, that there's a disconnect. We can see that, right? We understand. Even if we're not quite sure why it feels off, we know something is off. If I'm smiling and I'm not smiling with my eyes, that is the farthest thing from charismatic. But let's say that I'm smiling with my eyes. Maybe I'm not even smiling that much, but I'm smiling with my eyes. Difference, right? Let's warm the eyes and then smile. Okay? Big difference. big difference. I'm not even looking at myself and I can feel the difference. That's another thing. When you do these steps, you are going to feel more charismatic. You are going to feel more comfortable. Again, it's not about performing. That is why we want to practice these if they don't come naturally to us. We want to practice, but we're not performing. It's our authentic state that we really want to shine through. The next one is body language. So like I mentioned in my story, when I walked in, shoulders back, head up, but I'm not going like this. I'm not like ready to fight someone, or I'm not hunching over like this. I'm just standing, relaxed. Shoulders back. It doesn't have to be like this, just a natural feel. And I'm walking in at a good pace. It's really great to practice walking outside. Go for a walk. Literally practice walking. Put on some music that you like and practice what it's like to just naturally, confidently walk. The more you can ingrain the feel when you just walk in, when you can practice and then you walk in a room and you walk in like this, people notice. One, because most people aren't doing that. A lot of people are distracted. They're walking in on their phones, or they're fidgeting around. Or I know when I go into a new place and I'm feeling a little awkward, or I'm feeling a little anxious, I'm often doing things like this. We protect ourselves, right? We cave in this, which is fine. But if you want to walk in and be charismatic, you gotta walk in with some presence, not overdoing it, but the confident stance, especially if you are going into an interview or doing a pitch. Vanessa Van Edwards often talks about the power of open hand, walking in, waving, smiling. These signal warmth and also competence, right? We automatically trust someone who has a good posture. Doesn't mean we're not going to trust someone that maybe has hunched over shoulders or something like that. But again, we immediately make assumptions from what we are picking up, micro movements. We want to make sure that we are making an impression from the minute we walk in. Number 4, we want to ask questions. We want to be interested in a person. This is really wildly powerful if you are the type of person who avoids going to networking events because you don't want to talk about yourself. You never know what to say. Even when you practice saying something in the moment, it goes all out the window. You forget everything. And then you feel like you're just jumbling your words and it's a hot mess. Okay. Listen, I've been there. It's not fun. I'm not saying do not practice talking about you, what you do, what you enjoy. Of course, that is important. But asking questions to someone else is one of the fastest ways to build a connection. It's one of the fastest ways to get that know and trust factor started when you start asking questions and genuinely listen to what the person is saying. Don't just ask questions for the sake of asking questions. If you're working on charisma and you ask questions and you don't listen to what that person is saying, that person immediately is going to shut down because they're going to know that you're not listening. You want to ask questions and listen. Repeat back. Ask follow-up questions. Show you are genuinely interested in what they are saying. This is going to leave a huge imprint on that person. They're going to remember you. Dale Carnegie talks about this in his book. One of the things that I remember so powerfully in that is ask questions. A lot of people like to talk about themselves, and some people are not comfortable talking about themselves. So for you to come in again, right? Posture up, smiling, eyes are warm, and you start asking them questions and you're genuinely interested and you start asking follow-up questions. Can you feel the impact this is going to have on people? Most people are not doing this. I know that these things sound so simple and easy. The fact that they're simple and easy doesn't mean everyone's doing it. Most people are not doing it because they're too much in their head. They're too worried. They're seeing the world, right, as if the world is all looking at them, like they're in the spotlight. And then that's when they get all anxious. What charisma and practicing charisma allows us to do, it allows us to start coming out, right? To start seeing the world, coming out and interacting in that way, as opposed to feeling like the world is on us, the spotlight's on us, and we have to perform and we have to be really great. And if we're not really great, people are going to talk about us and they're going to say these things and we're going to be judged. One, I'm going to share with you, nobody is really talking about anybody else. They're all in their head. I've been coaching top performers and leaders for 11 years. And I got to tell you, it's all in here. So when we practice being charismatic, we really feel and ground into our power. And that is the key to charisma, right? Being our authentic power state. All right. This is number 5, and this is the most important one. It is critical. This is the one that made my interview a complete flop. In fact, it was so bad. I was cringing. And it was like a freight train and it wouldn't stop. And I was just witnessing it. It was just getting worse and worse. I can laugh about it now, but it was pretty bad when I was in it, especially because I had to see the people over and over again. We need number 5, how to be charismatic, especially if you are using this for interviews, for opportunities, for pitches, even if you're going on a date. You have to practice the art of detachment. And what that means is you do not care if these people think you're charismatic. You do not care if anyone thinks you're great, or they think you're being warm, or that you're competent. You have absolutely no attachment to what people think of you or the outcome that is going to happen. So when I went into that interview in the mall, I did not care if I was going to get it or not. When I've had other interviews that were very similar to that one, where I went in and I literally wasn't even halfway home and I was getting a call and I was getting offered the job, it's because I did not care. I had this ultimate detachment. If it's not that one, it's going to be another one. And the one time it got so choppy was when I interviewed for my daughter's school. It was to work within her school as a counselor. And I really wanted it. One, I love the school. It was close to home. And I wanted to be with my daughter in that school. I wanted it so bad that it was so epically bad that I would be shocked if they hired me after that interview. Being attached is going to compress your energy. It's going to bring everything in like this. It affects how you think. It affects how you move. It affects how you behave. If you've ever gone on a date and you really like someone, and maybe it's the first time you're going on the date, and you feel that awkwardness, you're not feeling confident, you want to impress them, you want them to like you so much, and you just show up and you start rambling about things, right? Your whole demeanor just feels awkward and off. This is what I'm talking about. There has to be a detachment. You have to get into a state where you know that if whatever you're going towards, you're either going to get it or you're going to get something better at a different time. And you don't need to make anything happen. This is the key to being charismatic. And being charismatic to where it's not a performance. You're not performing, it's your natural state. Because charisma at the core is you in your confident, authentic state. Warm, competent, open, relaxed. When we are attached to something, we are not relaxed. We are in our head. We are overthinking. We are overperforming. Our energy is contracted. Hot mess express. So if you practice anything this week, practice being detached. Practice being okay. Just being you. Just going for the things that you want to go for. Knowing and trusting that everything is working out in your favor. You don't need to make anything happen from being charismatic or from doing anything for that matter. That you are in a state of openness and surrender, relaxed. When you meet people, then you can start warming the eyes, smiling, meeting with open, strong, but relaxed posture. When I'm working with my clients, they notice a drastic change when they start implementing these practices. If you want to speak more with me directly, you can go to the link in the notes. You can book a power play call and we will talk about what you are going through specifically and work out a plan to help support you in this. If you want me to go deeper in any aspects, leave me a comment with your exact question, and if it makes sense, I can answer it on a specific episode. Thanks for joining me if you're still here. I appreciate you. I love you. And let's stay connected.